Well, here we are again. We somehow made it through to see another spring. Despite everything that's happened in the past year, or maybe in spite of it, the plants are growing happily, swelling their hairy little buds, pushing out their leaves, and getting ready to do it all over again. Today I'm just going to be taking a look at some of the early spring wildflowers. If that sounds fun to you, maybe stick around for a bit. So let's get out and look at a bunch of plants. Some of my favorite spring flowers are the little ones. Their delicate, ephemeral nature makes them so much more special. Sometimes you have to make an effort to slow down and get on their level to even find them. Then you're in for a unique display of botanical beauty. Why don't we start with the ruin anemone this year? I think I hit them at just the right time, since their little flowers are opening up just about everywhere I look. They're peeking out from under leaves, rocky patches, and mossy knolls to catch that precious sunshine. These little flowers come in a range of colors between white and purpley pink, usually with somewhere between 5 to 10 petal-like sepals. In the center of the flower, there are a handful of stigmas and countless stamens. The plants produce little whorls of leaves that have more consistent morphology than the flowers do. Each leaf has 3 leaflets, and each leaflet has 3 lobes. Nice and tidy. The leaves are apparently toxic, so they don't get bothered much by herbivores. They do, however, provide food for bees and other pollinators. While the flowers don't offer nectar, they provide valuable early spring pollen. They're nice little flowers. Something new to me this year are the toadshades. I'm more used to the trillium species in the northeast, like the white, red, and painted trilliums. Out in the Midwest, those species become more elusive, giving way to the stumpy little toadshades. You can find them in just about the same places as you'd expect to find the other trillium species, in shady, moist, rich hardwood forests. The maroon red-flowered species is Trillium sessile. In the plant world, sessile means without a stalk. That's a fitting word for these, since the flowers are tucked neatly into the center of the 3 leaves, without a stalk like many of the other trillium species. If you take a look at the leaves, they tend to have mottled patches of darker green, which can help identify them. I think it also makes them look kind of mysterious and witchy. In addition to the red-flowered variety, there's the possibility of finding ones with yellowish-green petals, which look pretty much the same in every other way. Speaking of yellow flowers, we have this bush that sticks out like crazy. From a distance, it almost looks like someone misplaced their forsythia. Once you get up close, you can see that the flowers are a completely different shape. They're in bundles clustered tightly to the stem. These bushes are actually Spicebush, Lindera benzoin, which is a really neat native plant that's host to the Spicebush swallowtail butterfly. Unfortunately, at this point there aren't any leaves on the plants, just Spicebush flowers. I'll have to check these after they leaf out, since the larvae are basically an exact match for the Pokemon Caterpie. Later in the summer, the plants will have reddish, greasy, spicy fruits on them that can be used for all sorts of recipes. As they are now, the twigs can still be collected for making teas and whatever else you'd like, if you're into that kind of stuff. Try snapping off a little twig and give it a sniff, maybe a chew, and you're in for a weird trip to Flavor Town. In this same swampy section of woods, pawpaws are starting to wake up. They're another plant with some funky smelling twigs, but don't eat these sticks since they're a bit toxic. The fruit are amazing though. They have really strange hairy flower buds when they're just starting to break dormancy. After a while, the buds start swelling and form these bell-shaped flowers. At first they're greenish, and then they mature to a dark burgundy color. These flowers attract flies and carrion beetles for pollination, which is an interesting method for such a sweet-tasting fruit. Like the spicebush, pawpaws are host to their own butterfly, the zebra swallowtail. The larvae of the zebra swallowtail are able to thrive on pawpaw leaves, even with all of the toxic compounds. I'll have to hunt these down later in the spring too. Now that we're a bit warmed up, it's time to put on our big boy pants for these next flowers. Here is the Dutchman's Breeches, Dicentra cucullaria. You can probably tell why these are called what they're called. They have a really strange flower shape, with two pointed tips resembling the legs of pants. Altogether, the flowers look like little fancy pants hanging up on a clothesline. Flowers usually have a reason for looking unique. In this case, their unique shape evolved to fit native bumblebees that can reach the nectar inside with their long tongues. I think their leaves match the flowers perfectly. They're a soft, blue-gray-green with tons of frills, the perfect thing to go with some fancy pants flowers. To be honest, I had these flowers confused for the longest time with the related species, Dicentra canadensis, also known as squirrel corn. This plant has the same overall appearance, all the way down to its frilly compound leaves. The biggest difference is with the flower morphology. Instead of two pointed pant legs, these have more rounded bumps that make the flowers seem more heart-like. These Dicentra species may be really pretty, but they're toxic thanks to some nice alkaloids that they make. So if you don't mind, keep from sticking them in your mouth. Well, that's about it for me this time. Thanks for listening to me ramble for a bit. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. There are a ton of other early spring wildflowers out there, and I covered some of them in a previous video that I'll link here. If you're interested in other topics like mycology or foraging, feel free to take a look at my other videos. Thanks again, and bye.